The Lotus 49 made its debut all the way back in 1967, with Jim Clark winning in its debut race. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, however, dates back even earlier, constructed in 1940, welcoming Formula One for the first time in 1972. This week we throw them together and welcome you to the Grand Prix Legends here from Sao Paulo, Brazil. You'll see all the action live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Chad Irvine. Here with me today is Joe Peak. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and cameras are provided by the great Dougie Beard. Interlagos is an incredible track that gives us some fantastic racing. Let's take a look at it in this week's track guide.
Welcome to Autodromo's Jose Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its two layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of two circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those two corners. But from Ferradura until Juchao, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo.
This track always provides some exciting racing, Joe, and these guys are going to put in a great show with 26 drivers turning laps here. Especially going to be a fun one watching them go into the Senna S's for the first time.
Absolutely, and that is one of the tougher corners to go into, surprisingly tough, because the track kind of falls away, dips off to the left. You're going to see a lot of locked up left fronts trying to get the car woed up into there, and on top of it, it's one of the fastest parts on the circuit. Honestly, expect them also to struggle a little bit through the twisty infield. This is a car that tends to like very fast corners, sweeping tracks, and all those fiddly little back-to-back hairpins tend to make it very tough, especially getting the gearing right in this car. Passing should be possible, but it isn't the easiest thing to do here, especially in the Lotus 49s. And also watch out, because as they come through past the water tower and Subidos dos Boxes, that thing is absolutely wild coming through some of those corners. Not quite full throttle.
Yeah, it's very different compared to what you'll see in touring cars and stuff like that, where you have all the downforce in the world in the last couple of corners you can take flat out. But in these, it gets squirrely on you, especially as the fuel burns off, the car gets lighter. It's going to want to send you into the wall. It's going to make for a very fun race as we're running through qualifying here today. He's got 8 minutes to turn 2 laps, and I mean, just watching some of these guys get their warm-up laps going, it's definitely going to be an advantage to start in the front, try to avoid some of the early trouble, because the first couple of corners here are very tricky in these cars.
We have championships to go over, with this being the season finale as well.
Yeah, it's the last week of the season, as you talked about, and it's been Mick Clarkridge for the first 7 races of the season, continuing his streak. That came to an end just a couple of weeks ago. But he's got a 58-point lead coming into this week over Topi Kortniemi, and then 65 points back is Ovi Trengrade. Then Michel Dudganon, 76 point back, and Rob 106 points back, the lone member from the U.S. here in the top 5.
We've also got the F2 championship, and up at the top of that, Lehman has wrapped it up. Only 50 points for a win, and I don't think we're going to see Dave Cohen as good as he's been doing this season be able to claim that. He's got to watch out behind him. Only 4 points between himself and Plumley. And you could also have Andrew Ang get into things. Emmanuel Pereira a little bit farther back in fifth, but it's basically a fight for second place as well in the F2 championship.
And we also have the Nations Cup as well, with the United Kingdom up on top with 463 points. And then the U.S. 21 points back. Then Finland in third, 74 points behind the UK. Then France and Norway wrapping up the top 5 there. And it's a very unique format. I haven't seen it very much here on iRacing, but I love that that's something that they put on here in the Grand Prix Legends. And definitely give some of these guys a little more to race for, even though the championships have been locked up for a little bit now.
Absolutely. They base that on how they did it in 1967. And this isn't going to be exactly like 1967 with our race details. 22 laps, so a little bit shorter than the Grand Prix used to run back in the day. It is a standing start, and it's an open setup series. Now, as we say that, the drivers here are very, very friendly with one another, and you can often hop in even very early in the week and get setups from other drivers because they know this is a tough car. They want to make sure that everybody's up to speed pretty easily so that more can have fun out there. And they do have an incident limit. There's a few paved runoffs, so hopefully nobody gets up to that 17X or the 25 so that they don't have a drive-through Chad or a complete disqualification.
Yeah, you talked about kind of drivers sharing their setups, doing everything they can to grow the community and help other guys out. That's one of the things I love about some of these smaller series. We see the same thing over in the Pro Mazda, the PM18 series, where you don't get a lot of guys driving it, but those that show up always want to grow this series, help each other out, and share some setups. And Mick Claridge, top of the timing charts right now, almost 0.4 of a second faster than Topi, running qualifying in second spot.
See Dudignan down in fourth in his first lap. We'll see if he can improve upon that. And Claridge is just about to take his second. He does not improve. Trangarade up to second. And Dudignan is crossing the line as well. Also doesn't improve. Looks like the first lap is the quicker for some.
Yeah, and it's such a long track. There's such a build-up. Maybe just the way that the tires burn off, just you don't have that quite the same grip. But a lot of the guys are turning in very similar laps, but nobody really seems to be able to improve, as Andrew Ang goes about half a second quicker on his second lap.
Yeah, with these tires, they're a bit interesting because obviously they're quite hard, so you're not going to run out of tire like you do with a lot of modern slicks, but you can overheat them, and that's really the big thing is the temperatures, so you want to get them right in the perfect range. And the drivers, actually, the biggest talking point on the setup is almost always the tire pressures and where to get that sweet spot with them depending on what temperatures you have.
Yeah, very different than what you'll see on kind of the traditional open wheelers and other cars here on iRacing, where you have to kind of build up the pressures over your warm-up lap and maybe even onto your first lap. Here, you kind of have to start them hard and just hope they hold on for dear life, especially in qualifying, where every bit of grip and every bit of advantage will help you out as the lap goes on. Here comes Trangarade on his second lap. See if he can't improve. 129.4 is the mark to beat, and he is not going to do it. He must have had a moment somewhere on his lap because he's not going to improve. Hideki Kovico, he's going to, just barely miss out, almost 1/10 of a second off of his first lap.
I think Trangarade's already finished both of his laps, so he's just kind of taking some practice laps from here. Massa had, both of his laps discounted. He's going to have to start from the back. That's interesting. Unfortunate for the number 20. He's got some work to do.
Yeah, it's always going to be a rough part starting from the back, especially here where there could be so much carnage in turn number 1. We've kind of harped on it a little bit already, but I mean, just the Senna S's and Descida del Lago, a couple of very sharp and very dangerous corners, especially just the way that the truck kind of falls away from you in turn number 1.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's not just that first lap that you have to worry about that corner. Expect any of the fights that we have coming down to trying to overtake. Like I said, locking up the brake is so easy. If you're on the inside and you're trying to outbrake someone, you could find yourself shooting off into that paved runoff area and have to not only give up that spot, but a few others as you try and find your way back to the circuit. So today is going to be probably more about mistake mitigation than anything else, I think, Chad.
Yeah, but yeah, just that and attrition, the way that this race is kind of going to have to let the track come to you instead of racing the track. And you just, seeing where your car fits in, you can't force any moves here. You have to let the opportunity present itself to try to improve. It's a long circuit. There's a lot of passing opportunities, but there's also a lot of punishment as we wrap up qualifying here. So let's take a look at our starting grid here from Interlagos in the Grand Prix Legends. On pole comes Mick Claridge with a 129.067. On his outside is going to be Ovi Trengarade. And then Topi Courtniemi in third with Rob Oljanek on his outside. Then Dudunan and Schumacher in the third row. Then Tyler and Olsen. And Teal and Kiernan in the fifth row.
Pekka Risto starts in 11th with Jan Lehman in 12th, followed by Murakami in P13. Emmanuel Piera starts P14 today. Inside of the next row is Van Velsen. You've got Bentley to his outside and Robert Plumley on the next row. Matthew Maudsley starts 18th, Wallbank 19th, and Cohen rounds out the top 20.
Hideki Koviso and Andrew Ang, 21st and 22nd, followed by Andre Bruno and Randy Ho. And then Eugenio Massa and Robert Reynolds both starting at the back of the pack as they did not set times in qualifying.
Looks like we got everybody starting to line up here. And the good news is it's actually pretty good temperatures kind of right in the middle here today. So everybody should be able to find their setup relatively easily today, Chad.
Yeah, standing starts are going to make things interesting. Track temperature, you see it there on your screen. 82 is the track temp, 78 with southeasterly winds. Definitely going to make things interesting at 6 miles an hour. These guys are going to have a whole lot on their hands as we get set to go racing here. Wait for a couple more cars to take to the grid.
Looks like they're all out there now, Chad. I think we are ready to race.
Engine starting to rev. The lights come on, and we are green with a clean start out front. Everybody gets rolling properly. A couple of guys getting very aggressive. Bill Tyler trying to make a move around the outside in turn number 1, but so far the front. Oh, there's contact. One car off to the inside. I'm not sure who that is yet.
That's Dudagnan, and he had a little bit of contact with the wall. I'm not sure if he's gotten away with it.
For the most part, looks like everybody getting away clean other than the one incident there. Guys working the way through now to through Decido del Lago. It's going to be a very fun time as they come to Ferradura for the first time.
Claridge got himself a decent gap over Trangarade right now, and looks like most everybody did get through. Bruno seems to have gone into the pits. I'm not sure what happened to Andre, but Dudagnan had to take a tow. It looks like that damage from that touch to the wall was just too much to continue.
You're seeing a lot of tire smoke from some of these guys. You really need to, as we talked about, you need to protect your tires, try to make the most of it, and kind of just let this race run itself over time, because if you burn off your tires in the first couple of laps or get them too hot, it's going to take a while for them to cool off, and you've got some work to do to kind of get your car back under you.
Yeah, so really taking care of them early is going to be important. Now, you can let them come back to you and ease off a little bit, but obviously it's better to be pushing a little bit later than early on. So as they come down, Claridge is going to lead the way, but he's not going to have Dudagnan to worry about. We'll see if Trangarade and Olenek can kind of pick up the slack on that.
Yeah, Trangarade showing his stuff, just trying to hang right with him. He's about 3 or 6/10 of a second behind, so he's got some work to do to catch up. As we go on board now, watch the gap close down under braking, but getting the run off was Claridge, and you just see him start to pull away under the straights just a little bit.
Now on board here with our second place driver. And we've got quite a nest of people a little bit farther back. I'm looking at P8, and there's absolute train in here in the middle of things. As Karen actually taking a look on Risto.
Yeah, Risto under a lot of pressure right now, and there's just a whole train, about 5 cars. It looks like Risto just holding up this entire pack, baby. Almost some contact there, and running wide then is Risto. Couple is going to have to try to find a way around it because they are losing a ton of time to Gary Tail in 7th spot.
Yeah, I think he outbraked himself heading into the corner, but Karen and Risto got extremely lucky. Now the question is if he's got enough damage on the nose. Well, Risto is slow off the corner, but side by side through there is very sketchy. A little wheel-to-wheel contact. They're extremely lucky that they did not spin out in front of that whole group. And now look at it, it's kicking off behind him as well, Chad.
This straightaway is so long. The run onto it is just so critical to getting a good run and good entry into turn number 1. They're 2 by 2 through this pack, and that's a car in the wall. Looks like that was Belson.
Yeah, I think he made contact with, looks like Lehman. Just kind of Lehman came down on him. And unfortunately, that corner there through Curva de Sol is pretty single file.
And a great job by everybody else to avoid that car. Catching that Armco barrier on the inside. Definitely very punishing as we look back up front. Claridge about a second lead over Tringrade, but definitely not letting him out of his sights as Ove, as he's got pressure from behind about a second back to Olchanak as well.
Yeah, these still spread apart, and as much as we had that action back in the middle group, they haven't come apart. Still Risto ahead of Olsen, who got by Karen in there before. Let's see, getting the traction off this final corner is really important. It's a lot tougher than you think because you're feathering the throttle a lot up through here as well, Chad. And like I said, not quite flat out until you get to about here and finally able to really keep the throttle down. But then as soon as you do that, now you're braking hard, and Olsen's going to take a look on Risto. Risto doesn't defend, but he will have the inside of the second apex. Oh, but he bobbles.
And a huge lockup by Lieben in the middle of that pack as well, causing a couple guys behind him to scatter, not knowing where that car was going to end up. But everybody able to keep things going. The banking on that final corner just helps you just enough to keep it flat out. And under braking, Lieben wants to make that move to get up one more spot in this line. That'd move him up into the top 10 in the race, but unfortunately not able to get it there. But everybody here just hungry for positions. This is the battle for 8th on back.
Yeah, as much fun as these guys might be having, if I was in the car, I'd be a little bit concerned as more contact between Lehman and Bentley there in the group. There's way too much of that happening for my liking. Somebody's going to pay the price. We've already seen a wreck through Curva de Sol, and I feel like we're going to get a few more big incidents. These are momentum cars, Chad. They like to go in one direction. They don't like to change it. So they need to give each other just a little bit more berth, I feel like.
Yeah, under braking, you kind of need to know that how these cars handle you. These guys very knowledgeable on their racecraft. They know what it's going to do and kind of how to protect their cars and work nicely with everybody around them. But 4 laps into a 22-lap race, some very aggressive moves here in this pack, as it looks like Lehman losing a ton of time to Risto. But Bentley right there trying to make the move down into the center. S's, locking up the front left big time, and he's going to go wide.
The perfect illustration of what I was harping on earlier. And exactly like I said, he loses multiple positions just because he went off into the runoff. So you gotta, it's so tempting to brake late, and it feels like you can brake later into there, but every time you try it, the car's just gonna wash out every time. So it's better to brake a little early and be timid into there just to preserve the car than to give up all those spots.
Lose a lot of time there, but this is on board with Olsen right where they started and doing a great job just kind of holding on to where they're at. They're currently the last car in that front train. Big gap out the back. As just kind of holding on right now. You'll see that gap, actually the first car in the second train, but doing a great job just to kind of keep everybody at bay. A little bit of a gap out the back, really helpful here because you don't have to completely watch your mirrors all the time. And Maudsley in the middle of this pack doing just enough to kind of hang on, was able to get by Bentley from when he ran wide, and Bentley really seeming to struggle as he overcooked his tires.
A little bit of a fight between Koivisto and Cohen now. And I think Koivisto just got that one. A very unusual place, coming up towards the junction. Managed to get it done through that swift left-hander, Mergulo. Let's take a look at it.
Looks like he had just slow off the corner and then under braking.
Yeah, he's starting to set him up through the Ducksbill. And wow, he got better traction and did it around the outside, maybe? Yeah. Wow. Incredible stuff from the 7 here to make that stick. That is not easy to do.
Yeah, getting that momentum on the outside there and just keeping your foot in it as much as you can through this long front straightaway. Definitely going to help even make up ground on the cars in front. As now they've got their eyes set on Wallbank just in front.
Looking at Olenik's perspective now. Ooh, Bove's under quite a bit of threat. This is down to about 0.4 of a second. And I don't think Rabo's nearly close enough to try and attack here. At least I wouldn't if I was him. But all he's got to do is try to get a mistake out of Tranqueray. And from what we've seen from seasons past, Ove is a little bit prone to them sometimes. He likes a loose car, and it's easy for him to lose the rear on this thing. So if I was Rabo, I'd maybe just try and keep the car as close as I can. Maybe not try and make wild dives, but just kind of poke my nose out and see if I can rattle him.
Yeah, definitely enough of a gap there. You don't want to just completely send it, especially this early into the race. And you have a huge gap out front, about over 2 seconds now to Claridge. So these guys just battling for the last couple of steps on the podium as they have about 3 seconds back to Courtney Emme, for who's running 4th.
Do have enough cars here today that I'm pretty certain we'll be running into some traffic. Not for a little bit, but that's probably their best hope for trying to run down Claridge, unless they can get a mistake out of him as well, because certainly looks like he's got the legs on them today, Chad.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a fun track to race on, especially in cars like this where it's more of a driver's car than anything. You have to set up the car to your liking and just do everything that we can to keep it, keep the car on track and pointed the right direction. Looking back, this is the battle for the 10th spot with Pekka Risto. And just holding on for dear life to that top 10. Lehman right there with a couple cars hounding as well.
What's interesting is that Lehman was closing in as they came into the infield, and now he's dropped off a little bit. I wonder if maybe Risto's got a little bit better mechanical grip, especially in the slower corners, because he put himself at arm's length, and now he's not going to have much of a chance. Behind them, if they start battling, they're going to have some friends, because Piera and Maudsley are watching with great intent.
I've noticed Lehman just catching up last couple laps. A slight lockup there as well from Risto, but Lehman in the high braking zones, especially like the Senna S's, gaining so much time, but can't keep it close enough to get the move done next time through. We saw how much ground that Lehman made up. But I've also noticed Lehman using a lot more of the curbs, maybe even cutting over the apexes just a little bit. Much more aggressive line, but not able to keep the momentum up. And that gives Risto the opportunity to just keep his speed going and kind of pull away down the long straightaways.
Yeah, there's some tracks where this car does not like the curbs. Here, though, you can get away with using a lot of them. They'll make you slip up a little bit, and we were just talking about coming down into this infield. He gets right up to him once again. And let's see if he can hold on this time, or if Risto's going to pull away. But yeah, those curbs are so flat, and they're not really that upsetting to the car. So you want to try and take advantage of them to widen your turns a little bit more and get that bit more of speed. And he didn't lose as much this time, so maybe that was just a one-off that we saw from Lehman last lap on losing time in the more technical portions.
Yeah, based on what we saw out of Lehman last time, I think this is going to be the perfect opportunity to try to make a move here into the Senna S's. Great run, using every bit of it was Risto on the inside. Here comes Lehman, though, into the Senna S's. He's there and able to get the move done. Fantastic pass. Oh, a little bit of a fight back there from Risto on the outside in turn number 2. And Lehman gets to the point of this train, and that's going to be for 10th spot.
Yeah, 2 more spots for Risto. Unfortunately, he lost at the second part of the Senna S. He's going to try and get one back as he looks to the inside of Maudsley. And Matthew going to give him plenty of space, scared him off the line, but he's not going to be able to make it. What happens there is if you pinch that second apex, you just cannot get on the power as well. And Risto discovered that in a really horrible ways. He had to give it up to Maudsley and Pereira.
Yeah, some very aggressive driving, trying to do everything you can just to hold on to every spot, because as we mentioned, it's not the easiest car to pass in, and these 4 cars really doing a great example of that, just waiting for everybody else to make a mistake, run your race, hit your marks, run your line, and just do what you can to keep everybody else at bay. Right now, Lehman doing a great job holding off a couple of cars like Risto, Maudsley, and Pereira.
You talk about the difficulty of trying to overtake. Looks like Rob is getting ever closer to Olenek here for that second place. We're looking at them now. The thing about that difficulty is more in the sense of what I talked about before with the momentum of these cars. You kind of need others to play along with you. You can't really chop people off, and you have to have quite a bit of respect. And the nice thing about this being almost like a league with such a tight-knit community is everybody kind of knows how each other races, so you can get really good battles in here. But there's a lot of respect amongst the drivers as to what you need between the cars to get wheel to wheel.
It looks like we've had a couple of drivers retire their cars from issues on track. Eddie Van Velsen currently, he's going to finish his day in 22nd. And then Randy Huff in 23rd. Gino Massa, Michel Dudnan, and Andre Bruno going to wrap up the field. Those 5 cars, the only retirement so far.
Here's a look inside from Pereira, locking him up. Lehman's going to go wide, and he'll hand that one over. That's I don't know if I'd call it an unforced error, but certainly an error nonetheless from the 13.
Yeah, just feeling the other drivers breathe down your neck can be so intimidating in these cars. The mirrors are so small. They do, I would hope, be running the virtual mirror, something that they have here in iRacing, just basically a floating rear view mirror above your cockpit, something that can be very helpful to these guys, especially in a car like this, where, you know, just the aids to the drivers are not the greatest for vision. It looks like some of these guys, you know, just very respectful of each other, but also feeling the pressure from behind, waiting to make a mistake. Lehman thought about maybe making the move there, but too far back to get it done.
Oh.
And a slight lockup. Oh, huge lockup. And now spinning. That's Risto.
Oh, yeah, behind them, unfortunately. He did catch it. Looks like he keeps it going. But, man, these 3 that were ahead of him, I'm impressed with Pereira managing to cover off the apex at the right time for Lehman. But Lehman feels like he's close enough. He's going to go for it. But he's going to get denied down at the Descida del Lago. Oh, he's very poor off the corner. Maudsley thinks about it. And unfortunately still not able to make it stick down into Ferradura. This has been a very spicy group, but it's been kind of interesting to see. It's narrowed down. We had, what, about 6 cars earlier, and we've cut that in half in just 11 laps.
Yeah, it's basically split up now from a group of 6. There's a group of 3 out front there that we're looking at with Risto now leading a second train, followed by Plumlee, Bentley, and Murakami. Those 4 guys very close to each other as well, putting on a fantastic show just behind these 3.
Honestly, if I was Plumlee, I'd probably try and hold behind Risto because Pekka's probably going to be a little bit faster. Remember, he had a mistake. He's been sent backwards here a little bit, and he qualified in 11th, so he's a little bit out of position. So Plumlee probably could ride the toe, especially here along the run up to the pit straight. You do get a little bit of it, just enough that you'll feel the effects, and so you could maybe use Risto as a way to get up to that next group.
And we've seen Risto also, almost some contact there between Plumlee and Murakami. They keep things pointed in the right direction. Plumlee had to swerve to the outside of the track, but keeping things going. No need to go back to it. No harm, no foul, just losing a couple of spots. But man, these guys just fighting very hard all over the track, doing everything they can to kind of just keep the cars underneath them. Trying to protect their tires as we still have half of this race to go.
That was a big overcorrection there from Plumlee, and that's what sent him off to the right. I think he wasn't expecting the car to the inside at the last moment. The fight for the 10th spot is actually still very, very close between Pereira, Lehman, and Maudsley. They're coming through the duck spill. Surprised that Maudsley hasn't been trying to get more involved in this. He's been waiting very patiently. I wonder if he's kind of a little afraid of some of the action that's been going on, as we're looking to look at Tyler now.
It's a great battle that's been kind of developing over the last couple of laps. This is the furthest up front that we're seeing some cars pretty close together. Trengrade and Olchanak kind of just splitting themselves up just enough, about a second and a half between them now, as Claridge has about a 2.5 second lead as well. Top five very spread out, but then this battle for 6 shaping up very well.
Yeah, as they come down towards Ferradura, Gary Teal and Bill Tyler, I should say, are both longtime veterans of this series, so they know what to expect. And watching Gary, he is absolutely stalking Bill right now, as he's going to lock up the right front a little bit coming into turn 8. But I suspect Gary is probably biding his time, waiting for the right opportunity.
Yeah, we see them. A couple of guys now starting to fight through lap traffic. Claridge has done a great job so far, just kind of holding his own, but Egg and Reynolds both just kind of taking their time, letting cars pass them. There's the last two guys that are running, they're just gone one lap down not too long ago, but hanging on for dear life to those cars. They're just kind of struggling out there today.
This is a surprisingly tricky track in this car. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see a lot of drivers making mistakes. I told you it was all about that mistake mitigation, and you're going to get spots just by keeping it pointed forward and running consistent laps.
Yeah, that's a look at your leader there, Mick Claridge. About 3 seconds out the back. This is a little further back in the pack. This is Pereira still holding on to that 10th spot. We've seen this battle all race long. Lehman works his way up to 10th and then gives the spot right back, and then he gets shuffled back to 12th. Just these guys very much give and take early on in this race. It's going to be fun to watch these three battle it out the last 9 laps.
And the one who's gained the most in this is Maudsley. I mentioned that he might be kind of afraid of what he's been seeing up in front of there. That might actually be the smart thing to do. He's gained 6 positions. The other 2 have come up as well. I mean, it's a position up for Lehman and 4 spots up for Pereira. But I feel like Maudsley says, you know, this has worked so far. I've gotten 6 spots just by kind of biding my time. Maybe if I wait long enough, these 2 will take each other out and I'll get 2 more.
That's always a fun part about these races is, you know, it's such a driver's track. You have to feel the car under you and kind of just keep it, you know, let the race come to you and hit your marks. Mistakes can be punishing, and just the way that you have to battle, you can't be driving in your mirrors too much because you miss one braking point by just a couple of feet and you're going to be running wide and in a world of hurt, as we've seen a couple times so far this race.
Pereira had a lot of wheel spin coming out of the junction. This might be a good opportunity for Lehman, Chad.
Setting it up, going to the inside. There's a lapped car there that's going to get out of the way. But here's the move up the inside through the Senna S's. A little bit of a tire lockup from Lehman, but keeps it going and able to keep the momentum up as they exit the Senna S's.
That was beautifully managed, but he's not done with it. Pereira's going to try and fight back. Oh, but he has to check up. Coming out of Curva de Sol, he just got too close to the gearbox of the 13 there. And otherwise, I thought he would be within range to try and fight back here into Interlagos. Man, Lehman just locking him up, and yet it was that beautiful cadence braking just to kind of rotate the tire enough to get the grip into the corner and allowed him to take that 10th spot.
And thinking about the move again there, chopping the nose off just a little bit was Lehman on Pereira. Pereira very inside line over both of these curves through that right-left switchback, and man, just an incredible bit of driving from these guys. Very respectful lockup from Lehman. That's going to open the door for Pereira, but not able to keep his momentum going to get the move done.
Yeah, he's been looking left and right and hoping for an opening, but yeah, it has really been covering him off. And it looks like he got a pretty good launch off of the junction, so he's not going to fall victim to the same thing that the 15 did.
Here comes the move. Gonna send it up the inside through the final corner, and they're side by side as they head across the finish line and down to the Senna S's. Under braking Pereira a little bit squirrely, a lockup out of the left front. But get the move done. Better run for Lehman. No, it's gonna be Pereira getting clear on exit.
Who can he manage to avoid what Pereira had? Yeah, look at that. He is much better on the throttle coming off the corner, and he's going to get the launch. He's down to the inside. Lehman's side by side as they come down to the apex. He'll have the advantage, but that outside momentum almost working for Pereira. It's still going to continue down to Ferradura.
This battle has been going on the entire race, and these guys are doing a great job of showing just all the practice and dedication to this car and how it pays off. These guys are just doing a fantastic bit of driving between these three, battling for the top 10.
Wow, great job by Emmanuel on that one. I did not expect that battle to continue the way it did. It looks like the 15 struggling to get the car woed up here today. Both he and Lehman have just been smoking the tires a whole bunch. The day that we get flat spots in iRacing is going to be a bad day for these two.
Yeah, just lockup after lockup, and it seems like for Pereira, it's always that same corner, just not doing a great job of keeping it woed under braking and getting a little squirrely. Here comes Lehman, very defensive line from Pereira. They're going to be side by side once again through the Senna S's, and Lehman's going to have to go the long way around.
Is this going to continue like it did last time? Could get the cut back, maybe? No. Now, they've gained a spot. They've all gained a spot for some reason from Laust Olsen coming into pit lane. Oh, Olsen had a moment coming through Sabitos dos boxes, it seems, as a little bit of a defense there from the 13 trying to keep Maudsley behind. But this is worth a replay on the 9. This is a big hit.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate to see just having a quiet day, easily in 8th position, holding his own, and taking a look here at the replay through the final corner, just catching the grass on the right side, skidding all the way across the track and into that Armco barrier on the inside, and Olsen just brings it down to pit road. Unfortunately, goes from 8th down to 19th.
Yeah, he's been having to take some repairs, and Pereira having to cover off the inside of the duck spill. That is a place where you really need to be on top of someone to make a pass, and that tells you how much under threat the 15 feels.
And by the way, just look at how this group has formed right back up. We mentioned how it kind of broke into the group of 3 and a group of 4. Now it's all the way back up to a 6-car train with Murakami, as we got to move up here in the top 5. Olenek trying to make the move, and they're side by side.
Down into Ferradura. Tranger is going to have the inside. Not always the place you want to be. What will give you the inside for this next sharper turn 8. And as long as he can, yeah, he's going to be able to cover him off. Oh, no, maybe not. That was brave stuff from Robbo, getting his nose in there. And kudos to Trangerade for seeing that one coming. I would have shut the door most likely. This continues on. I've never seen the side-by-side go this far.
And an incredible save by Trengerade as well a couple of corners ago. The back end completely stepping out, but keeping things pointed in the right direction. Trengerade just holding on to that second spot for now.
Wow. So Rob, now that he's managed to get close enough, is a fierce fighter. And Trengerade, I mean, it makes sense. It's 5 laps to go. If Rob has not been able to get an opportunity, now is when he's got to start taking those chances. He's not close enough. I was going to say, I don't think that's a serious attempt this time down into the Senna S.
Olenek just right there, lap after lap, trying to get a move done, but can't do it. Still 4 more circuits to go get that move done. Gonna have the move here with a lot of momentum. Thinks about going up the inside defensive line. No. And Olenek, we just saw a great battle through this section last time on track, but Olenek has the move done for now.
Had to work for that one. He's going to try the outside. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Just didn't have enough overlap there to try and challenge him, and he had to fall back in the end. There's a lot of understeer in Ferradura, so trying to do the outside is supremely tough.
Yeah, you can get on the throttle a little bit earlier, but with the longer radius of the corner that you have to take, the longer distance travel, it's very difficult to get a move done. But man, Trengerade right there. And I'm thinking with the way that they're shaping this battle up, we're going to have another move going into the Senna S's.
I don't know. That didn't look like the best of exits from Trengerade. Depends on how much of the slipstream he gets. And this corner right there is a big telling point. Subidos Dos Boxes can get you a little bit more of a launch. It looks like he's got it. He's going to stick his nose in. Is he going to have the space down at the apex? Trengerade will leave it there. Tiny little lockup. They've got lap traffic in front of them. Going to try for the cutback. Oh, but he's blocked at the apex.
And they had to worry about the lap car there of Reynolds as well. Great job there from slower traffic, keeping out of the way, letting these guys fight. And here comes another look at the same move from Trengerade, but no, we see lap after lap trying to make a move there into Interlagos, but can't get it done. Just not close enough to peek his nose in and have the inside of the corner.
Now, you see that orange helmet creeping up behind them? That's Courtniemi. The more they fight like this, the more that Topi is going to start to reel them in. It's going to become a 3-car battle to determine the podium here. That's bad news for Rabo and Ove.
Yeah, what was once 3 cars, about 2 seconds between each of them. Once Trengerade caught Rabo, I mean, we've seen them battle so hard through this infield section every single time. And that just leaves Topi right there, just licking his chops, waiting for the move to come to him. Because these guys, I mean, they have to know he's coming, but they're just focused on each other so much that, you know, they're just doing every little bit that they can. And by the way, it looks like about 2 seconds has come off the gap from these guys up to Claridge.
Did Claridge make some sort of error then, I wonder? Well, I'm going to check into that while you watch this battle.
Such a great job from these guys, still fighting tooth and nail, not giving each other any room for error, as Courtniemi just right there on their gearboxes as well, just waiting for something to happen between them. Trengerade now with 2 laps to go at the line for these guys. Interlagos as working their way through there. And the momentum all in favor of Trengerade. Can you get the move done too far back to even think about it?
Nuts.
Courtniemi just catching up lap after lap, about 3 or 4 car lengths made up as well.
I'm not seeing anything unusual about mixed lap. It just was a very slow lap from about 3 seconds off the pace. So I wouldn't think that's him backing it off. And they can actually, we're starting to see him in some of the shots. It's a 2.5 seconds. This is very bizarre. Not sure, maybe he underfueled it a little bit and he's having to save.
That would be very interesting because these guys all share setups. They were talking before the race even started, asking, how much fuel they think that they need for this race. It's not a timed race. It is fixed distance at 22 laps, so it's not, like there's any variance in what the fuel needed could be by very much, but man, these guys just love to cut it so thin on fuel that they just do everything they can. It looks like there's some damage to the front ends of Claridge's car as well.
You can sometimes get that if you run the nose a little low and it scrapes on the ground, that'll happen. But yeah, that's significant on there. So I'm not sure if, like I said, I didn't see anything like he didn't hit anything. So unless he nosed into the back of a lapped car or something, this is very strange. Trangarade is still keeping right on top on this last lap.
Time flies when you're having fun, and Claridge making the most of it. Got a couple more corners to go. This is on board with Ove Trangarade, and man, these guys just doing everything they can to get by one another. They put on a great show all throughout this field today.
Yeah, really up and down. Ooh, a little more, bit of a lockup there from Ove. He might get one more shot. Look at how close he is here. This is going to be his last chance.
Through the final couple of corners they come. Just two more turns to go. Mick Claridge going to come through the final corner here at Interlagos, and once again Mick Claridge on the top step of the podium, but the battle for second side by side, and Trangarade almost had it, but Robbo takes that second spot.
Oh, and we got to go back to this battle. I'm kind of sad we haven't been able to go here because there was such good action for second, because they have been going 3 wide at times here in this battle for 10th.
And Rob Bentley, huge issue there, just tumbling down the standings, down to, looks like,
but side by side,
13th.
Murakami around the outside once again, Mergulo, and he makes it stick over Maudsley.
Wow, these guys just keep fighting lap after lap, and it's been a great battle so far. The front car there is Murakami, followed by Maudsley, but further back, these guys still, almost getting wide. There was Bentley, but man, these guys were thinking about making some moves too wide on down the straight. And man, the way that this race settled out, I wish that we had, I wish that we just had, picture-in-picture and ways to show every car on track at the same time, because there was not time for anybody to catch their breath.
Ooh, yeah, that was a thrilling one, and it was 0.02 of a second between Olenek and Trangarade at the line. Ove just about had it over him.
What an incredible battle, both between Olenek and Trangarade, as well as those guys like Pereira, Maudsley, Risto. Just fantastic battles all throughout, as we see everybody just having a little party there in the runoff.
Yeah, we're going to try and, I think, look at the replay of the finish here for an Ove. Just about there. Look at it. He had the slipstream, he had the traction, he had everything except the few more feet that he needed.
Yeah, we talked about how these guys had to lift. I don't think that there was any lift there from Trangarade trying to make it through the final couple of corners. And man, these guys just having a blast burning it down at the end of the season. What a fantastic finish. Claridge takes the podium. We're going to take a short break and be right back here to wrap things up from Interlagos here in the Grand Prix Legends. Welcome back to Interlagos here, and for the Grand Prix Legends on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Chad Irvine. Here with me, as always, is Joe Peak, and taking a look at our results. 3-second victory for Mick Claridge, but it definitely felt a little bit closer than that at times. It definitely came, the interval came down towards the end of the race. Rob Olenek finishing in second spot, and what a great battle between him and Trengrade as that race winded down. Topi Courtniemi hoping to make a move at the end, but just too far back, followed by Bill Tyler taking the 5th spot. Gary Teal in 6th, followed by Kiernan Murakami in 8th. What a great run for him, followed by Maudsley and Pereira wrapping up the top 10.
11th, it was Risto. He was in the thick of all that action we were watching for much of the race. Plumley behind him in 12th, and Colin Bentley settled for 13th. Trying to catch up to the group was Dave Cohen, but just didn't have the pace today to do that. He wound up in 14th with Coivisto in P15, Wallbank in 16th. And the last 2 cars on the lead lap was Ang, and unfortunately Lehman seems he has dropped off in a big way at the end of the race. 2 laps down was back row Bob, and then Laust Olsen, unfortunately, with a DNF today.
And you see everybody on your screen wrapping up the field did not finish today's race, but we're joined by the person that led every lap of today's race, your pole sitter, your championship winner, Mick Claridge. What a fantastic race for you today.
Yeah, cheers, man. So, it was a bit, I wouldn't say easy, but I was expecting a bit of a fight. I felt a lot of guys messed up qualifying there, so it was a bit annoying. Couldn't believe everyone was 29.4 after me. But I was actually thinking, because it was the last race and the championship was over, I was actually thinking of doing an over and slowing down a bit and having a fight. But I thought, no, I better not, because the guys might be fighting behind. And that ended up being the case. So, yeah, I'm glad I didn't there.
Yeah, those guys were battling very hard behind you, and they put on a great show for us. But you've put on a great one all season. Just talk about, you won the first 7 races of the season. You come back to win here today as well. What's the secret to these cars? There's something that you're kind of holding back from everybody else?
No, I say every every season, man, you just got to put in the hours. You really have to practice hard. Well, I have to. I mean, you saw, I don't know if you were commentating on last week. I think Joe was, but that was a shocking race for me. I did about an hour's practice at the start of the week and then half an hour before the race. And I just can't drive if I do that. So that just shows you how much practice I need. I'm not Uwe Trengrade. He came in today with about half an hour's practice using my set. And look what he did. So unbelievable drive from him.
Yeah, these guys always putting on a great show here. And as we wrap up this season, looking forward to next. Any tracks you're looking forward to as we got a week off next week for week 13?
Do you know what? Now you put me on the spot. I can't actually remember many of the tracks that we run. I know Monza Combined is week 1. So I always look forward to, everyone does in this series. This car's just insane at Monza Combined, 225 mile an hour down the straights, and in the draft, it's just unbelievable. Braking for Curva Grand at 220 miles an hour is just unbelievable, on the last lap of that race. So really looking forward to that. I think we're running at Oran Park, so that's going to be a laugh. And a couple of other small tracks. I think we might put Chicago in, not sure yet. But yeah, looking forward to it, though.
Well, hey, man, it's been a great season to watch you race as we wrap things up for the season. Who helped get you here?
Oh, man, so many people. I'm going to thank you guys, first of all. You guys do such a great job. Talking about Double Scotch, the guys that normally run the series, but everyone, Joe, Sean, yourself, anyone that comes in and stands in this series, it's always a great show to watch. We always watch the shows straight after the races, so we always enjoy watching them back, And everyone, all the guys that watch me, there's so many people that watch me now. I can't name them all, There's an army out there, and all the guys that have run this season, we've had some really good fun, on this season. It's been really great, Just been glad to do as well as I did at the start of the season, to get it, because if it had been anything like the last sort of half of the season, I would have been nowhere, you know. So yeah, great. Thanks to me for being so good at the start.
Well, hey, man, it was my first time calling one of your guys' races. It was definitely a fun one to watch. I'll hope to be back next season. Don't make fun of me too much there in your watch party, though. But congratulations on another great season.
We definitely will, mate. But yeah, well done, Chad. See you, mate.
That is your race winner and your champion, Mick Claridge. Now it looks like Joe is caught up with Topi Courtniemi.
Yeah, Topi, you got so close to that podium finish there. Those two battling extremely hard. Were you egging them on from inside the car? Were you just yelling at them to fight harder?
Yeah, I kind of lost Rob. I think it was the first few laps. I got to slow down in the tight right-hander, and I did some quick calculations that if Uwe finished second and I finished fourth, I'd lose Uwe to 1 point in the championship and lose my second spot. So I kind of started pushing, trying to catch the guys, but at the same time, because Uwe was still second, I couldn't do anything silly and make a mistake to end my race or anything. So, but in the end, when Rob got past Uwe, I was hoping Rob to not do anything stupid and keep his place, and I also managed to catch them in case I could go past them, but no, I couldn't match their pace in the end.
Just a little bit shy, but you also had involvement with the incident that took out Michelle at the very start of the race. Did you actually get contact for that? Did you get a 0x or anything?
I think I didn't get even a 0x there. I just saw Rob in the inside and I let him go, and then I saw Michelle in the mirrors, and I tried to give him room, not too much, of course. We're battling for positions anyway, but I think he just braked too hard mid-turn and spun, I think.
Yeah, it looked like it from our perspective. He just got a little ambitious at the start. Easy to do, especially at this place. But we've been impressed with the growth of this series over the past few seasons. So you feel encouraged that coming back next season, we'll see even more drivers come out and try this fantastic car?
Oh, definitely. I'm going to do next season, of course. Yeah, and we've seen Sean Campbell in the series. He had his first few races and a couple of wins, which I don't personally have even one. So I'm expecting a lot of fast guys to battle in the front, and expecting interesting next season.
Oh, we do as well. I'm pretty sure you'll break that duck eventually. You've got quite a fast car there, Topi, and congratulations on a top 5.
Thanks, Joe.
That's Topi Courtniemi, and I think that wraps up our interviews, Chad.
What a fantastic race these guys put on, and man, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As we wrap things up here from another great season of the Lotus 49s and the Grand Prix Legends, Joe. I mean, any final thoughts to wrap this one up?
I always love getting to come in and getting to talk about these cars. They've got a personal soft spot for me. The original Grand Prix Legends that was made by Papyrus brought me into this car and into iRacing, honestly. So honestly, it's hard to have anything bad to say about this series and about this car. I just love getting to call the action for them, and seeing today's racing really brought back some great memories.
Yeah, always a fun car to drive for sure. But we got a couple of more broadcasts going on here on GSRC today, including one of the Camel GTs at Road Atlanta in just a couple hours' time. But to wrap things up, we want to thank everybody that provides the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen on how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the entire squad today, Joe and Dougie and Sean. I'm Chad Irvine. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it all at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment of the action here on GSRC. Also have a couple upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.